My t-shirt says born to read, forced to work, and honestly, that's my life right there. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video, I am going to be doing my May TBR. So first, let me just say that trying to work out a way to organize my TBR in this video so that it wouldn't be insanely confusing was a time. So we're just gonna do my usual layout where I have my goals, my book clubs, and then my readathons, because most of these books are counting for 2, possibly 3 things. It's a lot to go over. As usual, all relevant links to any book clubs or readathons are going to be in the description down below. If you're interested in checking them out, please do. Okay, so first off, with my goals that I try and hit every month, first is a nonfiction book for the month, and this one is actually going to be Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered by Karen Kilgariff. This will actually be a reread for me. It is a dual memoir following the hosts of the podcast My Favorite Murder. I read this last year, 2 years ago. I want to get in the habit of trying to reread books I really enjoyed more, and this one works for several prompts and the readathons I'm going to partaking in. It got moved up the list on my rereads. My Favorite Murder is probably my favorite podcast. It was the one that got me reinterested into true crime and initiated my love of podcasts. Next up is my backlisted book, and this is a book that has to be 5 years or older, and for that one I'm going with Red Queen by Christina Henry. This is the second book in her Alice in Wonderland duology. I'm really interested to see how the story is going to continue. By the time the first book had ended, we hadn't actually met the Red Queen, and I'm so intrigued to see what kind of creepy reimagining she is going to do with this character, because she did an amazing job with some of the others in the first book. Very excited to get into this. Next up is my diverse read, and for this month I am actually going to be reading a ARC that I received from NetGalley, which is Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria. I believe this story is a YA contemporary fantasy following these 2 sisters who are destined to slay dragons. However, something ends up happening and they end up on opposite sides of a impending war, and I'm so intrigued about this one. I think it has some LGBT plus themes in it. Destiny Soria is, I believe, Latinx, so I'm very interested to pick this one up. It sounds very awesome, and thank you to NetGalley for letting me get that ARC. I'm very excited for it. Next is my adult read for the month, and that is going to be The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, and this is a historical fiction following this apothecary that sells poisons to women who are being abused by men, I believe. I think it also has a future timeline as well, in which this woman is also dealing with some relationship struggles and is investigating the apothecary. I've heard amazing things about this from Noelle 7 Pages, and I can't wait to read it. Next up is my YA book for the month, and that one's going to be Lost in the Neverwoods by Ian Thomas, and I will be completely honest, all I know about this is that it is a Peter Pan retelling. I really adored Ian Thomas's first book, Cemetery Boys, and I can't wait to read more of their writing. Finally, like I said, with Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered, I'm kind of starting to try and prioritize rereading more. Technically that could count for one of my books, but I'm also possibly going to be rereading Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston in preparation for their next book, which is coming out, I think, in June, which is One Last Stop. And this is basically a enemies to friends to lovers story between the president's son and the Prince of Wales, and it's amazing. It's so good. I love it. Okay, so now that we got through my goals, let's cover the books I will be reading for different buddy reads and book clubs. 2 of my book clubs that I usually partake in haven't announced their books yet, so I will possibly have some additions onto this list. For my personal book club, we will be reading Lost in the Neverwoods by Ian Thomas, which I have already discussed. For the Sugar and Spice book club, I will actually be co-hosting this month for People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I read her last romance book, which was Beach Read, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm very excited for this one. I believe this story is following these 2 people who used to be best friends and would always go on vacation together, but then something ended up happening a few years ago and now they don't interact at all. However, our female main character ends up deciding to try and convince her ex-best friend to go on vacation with her again, so maybe she can kind of get out of this emotional rut she's fallen into. I'm sure you can guess where it's going to go from here, but I am so excited to read this one. I can't wait to discuss this with Manda and Kirsten in the book club. Also, as a part of the Sugar and Spice book club, they do a series for each quarter of the year, and so we are now starting a new series, which is going to be Fixer Up by Tessa Bailey. I think this is the first book in the Hot and Hammered series. I think that's what it's called. I believe this story is about a woman whose family are all house renovators, and then this ex-athlete who has started flipping houses. I don't know if it's they work together or they're competing, but somehow romance ensues. Yeah, I don't know a lot about this one, but I am excited to read more romance. I love that this book club makes me do it because I really enjoy reading romances, but I don't always prioritize them. Finally, for my Facebook book club, which is called Well Read Till I'm Dead, we are going to be reading The Power by Naomi Alderman. I believe this is like a feminist sci-fi story, and all I really know is that teenage girls suddenly have these like powers to just cause intense, agonizing pain to anyone they want, and kind of the repercussions because of it. Really intrigued by this. I have heard good things about it, and feminist sci-fi, not something I've read before. Intrigued about it. Finally, I am partaking in the buddy read for this month that Mare Reads hosts, and that is going to be Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Okay, now that we've gotten through all of those, let's focus on the 2 readathons I will be partaking in this month. And the first one is May the Force Read With You, which is a Star Wars readathon for all of May, and as a giant Star Wars fan, you know I had to partake in it. This is kind of a choose your own adventure setup, and I'll put the little graphics up here for you to see. There is the light side, the dark side, and the neutral side. So you have to either choose the light side or the dark side. I think technically you can do like a corruption storyline, or like a, what's the inverse of corruption? Redemption arc, that's what that's called. Whether you are on light or dark, however, you can choose prompts from the neutral side, and you have to do them in order. You can't double up on books. So I will be going on the dark side. It was really touch and go there. I wasn't sure which side I was gonna go with. I kind of wanted to go light side for Obi-Wan, but instead I decided to go with my boy Maul and my girl Ventress. All right, so let's start off by going over the prompts to become the Sith Emperor. First up is Rule of 2, which is to read a book from a duology, and for this one I'm going to be going with The Red Queen by Christina Henry. Next up is Lightning, which is a book that is under 350 pages, and for that one I'm going with The Power by Naomi Alderman. I can't say her name apparently. I'm actually not going to be doing the third prompt, which is Force Visions Manipulation. Instead, I have 2 possibles from the neutral side. First up is Telekinesis, a book that will move you, and for that one I could possibly do Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria, or the other possibility is Lightsaber, a book with your favorite color on the cover, and for that one it could count as Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. I absolutely adore the like blue shade on this. The next one is Seduction, which is to read a romance book, and for that one I will be choosing People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And then finally, to become the Emperor is Corrupted, a book with a black cover, and for that one it will be Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered. Once you've hit the highest point on your side, you can then do the Companions, which are some additional prompts, and for the neutral one, which is Bounty Hunters, Contract Kill, a book someone else recommended to you, I could count The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. And then for the dark side companions, Minions, which the first one is Galactic Empire, a book over 500 pages. This is the first one I haven't actually discussed prior. That one would be We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal, and this is the second book in the We Hunt the Flame duology. I have not yet finished the first book. I still have a few days left in April, so I'm not going to look at the summary for the second, just in case of spoilers, but I've been really enjoying this book so far. I think it's a very interesting setup, and the world that's been created, I found out it's actually based on Arabian mythology, and that's fascinating, not something I really knew a lot about. So I'm definitely planning to read this next one. I think it's like pushing 600 pages, which I'm not a big fan of big books. A little intimidated by it, but... And then the second Minions prompt, which is the First Order. It's a first book in a series. So Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey could count for this one. Finally, there is the group read for this readathon, and of course it has to be The Chosen One. The group read is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir, and I have heard nothing but amazing things on this book. I've been wanting to read it for a while now. I think it's based on Roman history. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but I believe we're following a woman who's trying to infiltrate the army, and then there's also a armyman who no longer believes in the cause they are fighting for. Pretty sure that's like a very base synopsis. I don't want to know a lot going into this because it is so hyped. Okay. I have already been going for so long, but we still have another readathon. Of course, when I found out that Kelsey at I Read Today was hosting a Shrek Readathon, I had to partake in it. Kelsey is freaking hilarious, and I knew she would do something amazing, which her announcement video was just so fantastic. Plus, Shrek is like just straight nostalgia from my childhood right there. I had to partake. This readathon is going to be going from May 16th to the 22nd, I believe, and with this one, she does encourage you to double up on prompts. It is also kind of a adventure story story. You are going along with Shrek through all of the settings that he has been in. Of course, some of these I am double or triple counting for other things that I've already talked about in this video, but let's still run down all of them. So first is to start in the swamp. Read a book that has been alone on your shelf. For this one, I'm going with Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria because this is currently the only arc on my NetGalley shelf. So it's alone. Next one is to travel into the forest, and that is to read a book with a large cast of characters. I'm pretty sure We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal will probably fall into that. The true question is, can I finish that book in a week? I don't know. Next up is to dance over to Duloc and read a short book. Maybe it's compensating for something. Honestly, I love that she did that. That one I'm gonna be counting Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered with. This is just over 300 pages, so it's fairly short. Then we have Rescue Fiona from the Dragon's Keep. Read a book with adventure. We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal will probably count for that also. Finally, go on your honeymoon, read a book with romance. I have 3 that could count for this. It'll just depend on what hasn't been read yet. Next is Head Too Far, Far Away, read a popular book. I could either do Red, White, and Royal Blue or An Ember in the Ashes, so it'll, again, just depend on what I haven't read yet. Next is to go to the Potions Factory and read a book with a magical element. Again, We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. The entire premise is that they are both trying to bring back magic. Finally, I Need a Hero. Read one of your favorite books because you deserve it. Both of these are on my favorites shelf, so right there. Like I said, majority of these books I am double, if not triple counting for things. I think this actually might like quadruple count. All right, y'all, so are you partaking in either of these readathons this month? Let me know in the comments down below and tell me some of the books you might be reading, or have you actually already read some of these that I'm planning to read, and let me know your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for coming to my channel today, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Bye.